YouTube, and welcome back to my random thoughts on Thursdays. And this week I thought I would bring you to my kitchen and have you watch me bake some really delicious low-carb cookies. Alright, so today I've brought you into my kitchen and I'm going to be making a recipe for low-carb almond cookies based mostly on cookies that my grandmother used to make when I was a child. I was thinking about this, and I haven't ever made them before. Well, I've made them recently, but before, like a couple weeks ago, I never made them since my grandmother and I used to make them together when I was a child. And I was remembering, it's like, wait a minute, there's no flour in these cookies. I betcha I could make them low carb. All I have to do is substitute out the sweetener. And so I tried it, and they came out really good. So I thought I'd show everyone how I make these cookies. They're basically a whipped egg white cookie, kind of like a meringue, if you're familiar with meringues. So it's basically a meringue cookie with ground nuts in it, and then a little bit of almond extract and a couple of other things, but basically just the eggs and the nuts and some flavoring, and boom, you have a cookie. And they come out so great. Like I said, my grandmother used to make these when I was a little kid. I actually still have the grinder around here somewhere that she used to grind the nuts by hand, although you can actually find ground nuts, at least the almond meal. You can find almond meal, which is ground almonds, at the grocery store. So that's why I made almond cookies out of these, although you can make them with other nuts. So, but anyway, let me go ahead and get started on the baking. So come and join me. Alright, all we need to make these delicious low-carb almond cookies are 3 eggs, from which I will separate the yolks and the whites from, because we want to use the egg whites for the cookies. Some cream of tartar, which will help the egg whites remain nice and stiff for the cookies. They are kind of a meringue type of cookie. I have 3 tablespoons of sweetener here. If you're not doing low carb, you can do sugar. Otherwise, for low carb, I would recommend either Splenda or a sugar alcohol based sweetener, like something with erythritol in it, like Z-Sweet or something like that. I wouldn't recommend anything with stevia in it. My experience is any kind of baked goods with stevia tend to be very bitter, so I don't recommend that. I have 1 cup of ground almonds. I have almond extract, and I have some whole almonds for decoration. Besides all these ingredients, I have measuring spoons. I have a spatula for folding the nuts into the egg mixture later. I have a standard tablespoon, which I use for scooping the egg mixture out onto the cookie sheet. And then, of course, I have my mixer with bowl, and then I have a cookie sheet, which you can't see here. But that's pretty much everything you're going to need to make these cookies. So why don't I go ahead and get started. Alright, the first step is to separate the egg whites from the egg yolks. So carefully crack the egg and crack it open. And let the egg white kind of drip into the bowl. And then I usually just kind of let the egg yolk go back and forth as I get the egg whites out of the shell. And yes, this is a little disgusting, but there you have it. Now I have just egg white in the bowl, and I have just the yolk in here. And I'll take those eggs out of this bowl, and I'll just put the extra yolk in there. And I'll do something else with those yolks later on. And then I have to do that again with the other 2 eggs. Carefully do this. You really don't want to get yolk in this because we are going to be whipping the egg whites. And when you whip the egg whites, they become really fluffy and things, but with the yolk in there, it won't do that. So we just need to make sure that we keep those completely separate. And these are going in the fridge so that I can use them for something else later. And these are going in the cookies. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now that I have the egg whites separated from the yolks, I'm going to go ahead and put them in my mixing bowl like this. Then I'm going to go ahead and at this stage I'm already going to add my sweetener. And I'm also going to add about an eighth of a teaspoon of the cream of tartar. I have a quarter teaspoon measuring here, and I'm going to do about half of that. And put that in there as well. Alright, then we're going to rev this up to whipped egg speed, and before you know it, we will have whipped up egg whites. Alright, I think they're ready. It started to get all marshmallow fluffy, and the trick is if it forms stiff peaks in the bowl, which I don't know if you can see that, but if I dip these in and pull them out, you can see it's got a little stiff peak at the tip there, and it's leaving a stiff peak in the bowl itself. So that means that the egg whites are stiff enough for me to now make the cookies with. So, shake off as much of the excess off of these. Alright, one thing I forgot to do before I started whipping the eggs is adding the almond extract to the mixture. You can actually do that before you start whipping, but you can actually add it at this stage as well, since I still have to fold in the ground almonds. So I'm going to go ahead and just do about a quarter teaspoon of the almond extract. Just put it right in there. And these are just going to help, this is just going to help the cookies just kind of taste more almond. Without it, you can also use vanilla extract if you prefer, but you don't want just the sweet, the almonds, the ground almonds by themselves don't have enough in-your-face almond flavor, so I recommend just kind of adding something else to give your cookies a little bit more oomph, as it were. Now, I'm not going to dump this entire thing in at once. I'm going to fold it in a little bit at a time. So I'm going to take just some of the ground nuts here, maybe about a third or so. And then I just start with a spatula, and I keep it on my mixing bowl because it's got that nice little rotating platform here. And I can use that to help me fold the nuts into the egg whites. Just nice and slow. You want to do it very slowly, because if you don't, the egg whites could reliquefy and collapse on you, and then you end up with no cookies. Alright, so the ground almonds are now completely blended into the egg whites, and the mixture should look something like this. And we're going to go ahead and move over to the stove so that we can start putting these cookies onto the cookie sheet. Alright, so we're now at the oven, which is preheating to 350 degrees. And you want to make sure that you have a nonstick cookie sheet and that you grease it down. I'm just going to throw some Pam on here. And no, I'm not being sponsored by Pam. I'm just like, this is just what I happen to have in the house. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that I get nice coverage. We don't want these cookies to stick. Alright. And then I'm going to go ahead and use an ordinary tablespoon to start scooping out these cookies. And I'm going to make about a dozen cookies, going about 3 across and then 4 down. And the nice thing about cookies like this is if you don't get the measurement perfectly for each one, you can kind of correct yourself with the ones where you don't put enough dough. This really isn't cookie dough because it doesn't have flour in it, but where you don't put enough cookie, I guess, on the cookie sheet. If I have extra left over, I will go back in and just kind of add to the individual cookies, and you'll see that in a moment. Alright, so you can see I still have plenty of stuff in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of add a little bit more to some of the ones that don't look like they're big enough. And just keep doing that until all of my cookie mixture is completely gone. I don't like wasting food, so I try to make sure that I use up everything if I can. There we go. So there's our 12 cookies. And then, as I said, one of the things I like to do is I like to decorate them with some whole almonds. This also kind of gives you a visual clue of what kind of cookie they are before you make. And the nice thing about this recipe is that you can actually do it with any kind of nut. So, you know, I'm doing almond right now, but you could do walnut, you could do cashew, you could do pecan, and, you know, you could do like a bunch of different ones and then just decorate each one with a whole version of that nut so that you can tell the different flavors apart. I don't know if they make walnut extract or pecan extract or anything like that, but in lieu of a nut extract for the other kinds of cookies, you can always use vanilla extract, and that works too. But anyway, so cookies are ready. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the oven. And stay tuned for the final product. So I just took these out of the oven and they're completely baked. You can see that they've got a nice kind of golden brown kind of edge around them, and that's exactly how they should look when they're ready. For me, I bake them at 350 Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. I'm up on a higher elevation, so I don't know for different elevations if the baking time is going to be a little different, or, you know, based on your oven and everything. But the way to know that they're ready is by seeing that they're just starting to turn kind of a golden brown around the edges, and then they're ready to take out. And I immediately put them onto a cookie plate because these are very delicate cookies, and I didn't want them to cool on the cookie sheet and maybe get stuck. So I wanted to take them off while they're still soft and take them onto the plate, and within I'd say half an hour they'll be ready to eat. They will stay slightly soft, so they're not going to be a crunchy cookie, but they, trust me, even though they're low carb, they are absolutely delicious. Alright, thanks everyone for joining me today. I had a lot of fun baking these cookies, and I hope you had fun watching. This is a bit of a different format of video for me, so did you like this kind of video rather than me just being a talking head the whole time? Let me know in the comments if you liked this. Also, if you want the recipe is going to be down below too, as well. And then, you know, if you like the video, please click the like button. I'd really appreciate that. And then, you know, if you like my videos, especially now that I'm doing everything on a more regular schedule, I'd love it if you'd subscribe as well. I'd really love to get more subscribers. That would be really great. I have a goal of trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Obviously by the end of this year that's not going to happen, but, you know, within a couple of months maybe. And if I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to do the husband tag video. Basically the boyfriend tag, except I'm doing it with my husband since I don't actually have a boyfriend. At least not that my husband knows about. Just kidding. So anyway, yeah, so those are kind of things that are going on with me, and so look forward to my next vlog next week. Until next time, bye-bye.